This is the high grade Wing Gundam Zero from 1995. So it's an older kit and 1/100 scale. It is 1500 yen at its time of release. However, because this is an older kit, it may be a little harder to find and will cost you probably a little more than what it says here. The box art on the actual box itself, and of course the art on the manuals, are very similar, and they are actually really nice looking, but incredibly misleading because at the end of the day, the kit's not going to look like that unless you put in a lot more extra work, including painting and lots of panel lining. It has an alternate mode called Neo Bird mode, which is pretty cool looking, but unfortunately it causes problems for the kit, which I will explain later. So here it is, the actual kit on display. And it's okay looking, it's got some nice details, but there are some problems like I mentioned. You see, things like the outline of the shield and the handle of the beam saber are actually the color that you see for like the majority of the piece. So like the shield is completely red, so you have to paint all that white on the outline, while the whites in the middle are actually stickers. The white on the handle is also paint that you have to add. And this was my very first kit, so I did a lot more work to it than all my other kits actually. Um, which is funny because this is the kit that kind of made me not care about doing extra work onto them, because I found out through having it for a couple of years now that it's not that great of a kit. You're also probably wondering how come it's in such an awkward pose and doesn't look like it's in a unique looking pose or like just nice looking. Well, that's because if you touch this thing, it completely falls apart in your hand. To quote the words of Mecha and like Zaku Aurelius, they are a plastic hand grenade. This is a plastic hand grenade through and through. There's no way about that. The backpack is notorious. This thing is terrible and is incredibly easy to just fall apart. And the thrusters on the backpack are the worst. The thrusters at the bottom come off just by thinking about looking in this direction. It's a bad joke. The headpiece as well comes off very easily, so you can fix that with a little bit of glue, and you could probably glue most of this on and it would be okay. But the biggest problem with that is that the backpack has a lot of moving parts, so there are some things that if you glue, unfortunately you won't be able to move them. So if you're okay with that, then it's totally fine. But if you want to move it around and do different things with it and check it out in different poses, then you're gonna have a hard time with that. Um, the articulation, of course, is something that a lot of people want me to go over, and overall, its articulation is as bare bones as you can get. Like I said, this is an older kit from '95, so its articulation isn't as good as a lot of the newer kits are. And most high grades are in 1/144 scale, but this is in 1/100 scale because at the time they were trying to see if high grades could be in master grade scale because they had just come out. And unfortunately, it doesn't work. It makes it too bulky, too heavy, the parts are too loose, and the joints just don't have the same kind of tension that they do at smaller scale. I also have its accessories here, like the Buster, but the reason why I'm not having him hold the Buster Cannon is because it is way too hard to put it into his hand. The beam rifle was hard enough, let alone the entirety of the Buster Cannon. Also, the Buster Cannon looks like crap without a whole lot of extra work, and I just didn't put it that much effort into the cannon itself. I didn't see the point, personally. This kit is definitely what I would call a very poor kit. Out of a scale level of 5, it would be a 1. While it can do most of what it's supposed to do as a kit, it fails in most aspects because it falls apart too easily. It's too hard to find now, and of course, its pricing can vary to being relatively cheap or incredibly expensive. And there's much better kits you can spend your money on, including better Wing Gundam Zero kits. So definitely don't worry about the old school one. Get something newer. Um, and that's really all I have to say on the matter of the kit itself. Now, of course, should you buy it again? I don't think so personally. That's up to you. Now I'm just rambling on at this point, so I'll go ahead and pretty much end the video here. I know I said I was going to end the video earlier, however, I do have to mention something. The reason why I decided to go ahead and do this as my first video on this channel is because it was the very first kit I ever got, and it was given to me by my dad, who passed away from heart failure in August, and today is his birthday, and I figured as a memorial to him, I would go ahead and give the man who started my Gunpla addiction with the very first kit I ever made. And even though it's my least favorite kit when it comes to the quality of the kit itself, it is my favorite kit because of the person who gave it to me. It means more than any of the other kits. Um, I love all my other kits, and I really do. Some are better than others, of course, but this is my favorite due to the person who gave it to me. It's a really hard. It's really hard to make this video, honestly, because of who it reminds me of, and how much I'm going to miss him. But this is definitely dedicated to my dad. So I love you, Daddy. I miss you, Daddy.